Good?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, they tell me that we're all working well. Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. So we'll call the meeting to order. And just first off, just the rules of conduct. Once we go through the presentation, those who want to speak will just stand and I'll recognize you. You have 5 minutes to speak. I need to know your name and civic address. And yeah, there's a microphone there for you. And just direct your questions to the chair, and if I can't answer them, I'll find somebody who can. So, Mr. Lamy, is this matter properly before council?
I believe it is, Warden Weber.
Okay, thank you. Overview by the planner. Or planners.
Can I have your microphone?
10, yes.
Can everybody hear me okay? So we're all here today about the property located on the corner of Mill Lake Road 1 and Highway 3. That property is currently zoned settlement residential 2. Some of the surrounding uses, as I'm sure we're all aware, some commercial uses, some single unit residential use, 10 beaches development, and some vacant lands. The property is 4.3 acres in size, currently vacant, and all untouched vegetation. So like I said, the current zone is settlement residential 2, that's R2. Some of those uses that are permitted currently are residential uses, commercial uses to a smaller scale, some tourism accommodations, and light industrial uses. The proposed zone is the mixed use zone. Again, similar residential uses, some light commercial uses, and then also commercial uses of a gross floor area greater than 2,000 meters square. So this is where we come into the application. So the application is for a rezone and followed by a development agreement. So that rezone is again to the mixed use zone and then triggering the development agreement as the application is looking to do a commercial use in approximately 3,100 meters square to include a gas station and also retail space. It's important to note that what will occupy that retail space is unknown at this point. That is not a requirement within the land planning and development agreement. Our planning advisory committee has recommended that the rezone will proceed if the development agreement proceeds, however, it was a positive recommendation. So I've done a full analysis and gone through the process here. We won't dive into my report, but I just wanted to touch on a couple sort of key topics that have come up throughout this that have warranted many questions. So the first one is about the driveway and traffic congestion. So the proposed development has commercial access on Highway 3, and then also a proposed loading zone and staff access off of Mill Lake Road 1. The applicant has conducted a traffic impact study and analysis, and they've been in some serious talks with the province, their provincial works, or their public works department during this whole process to ensure proper access to so currently we have language in the development agreement to require formal approval from the province prior to receiving a development permit. So that exact location of the driveway could slightly change. However, the proposed location is from direction from the province. Another one is the facade of the structure. So it came up at the public information meeting. Initially, many residents weren't in favor, and it was vocalized that they didn't like the look of the proposed building. So the applicant took that feedback back to the drawing boards and submitted some new plans that hopefully reflect more of the community character and is a little more inviting. The third one is the water course on the east property boundary. It's on the adjacent property. So the applicant through this process had to submit grading plans and stormwater management plans, and also follow regulation within our land use bylaw regarding setbacks from water courses, vegetated setbacks from water courses. So some of those requirements include 20 meters back of the vegetated setback. They need to retain, replant, or maintain 75% of the linear water body frontage. It was brought up that the driveway is in that 20-meter setback. However, going back to that 75%, that means that 25% of that doesn't necessarily need to be maintained. So that driveway satisfies that policy in that way. Should also note that again, the province required that the province required that driveway be a certain distance away from the intersection, hence why it was located there. And then the last one is about duplication of services. That's not really come up in my analysis, but it's come up in some conversations. So in this situation in land use planning, we're following policy and process. So the purpose of zoning is not about market competition or business planning, it's simply to regulate uses. So for example, if the business community desired 4 gas stations and the zoning permitted it, the applicant and the property owner are permitted to do that. So in this case, if one gas station is already approved or there's already one there, we can't simply reject the second one just because we don't want it, because it is permitted in that zone. And we've got the public hearing report in the package. It just essentially shows all of our meeting dates, our advertisements, and all of the reports that have been done to date.
Hey. Right. I'll do it right eventually. Thank you, Emily. So that's the end of the overview, Garth. There's nothing further from you at this moment.
That's correct.
Okay, presentation by the developer. I don't know if the developer wishes to speak. Mike, yeah. I don't know. Oh, no.
I can take this one.
Yeah.
I think we just need to.
It's a little low for you, but I'll manage. Alright.
Want a chair?
I'll be alright. Good evening, Municipal Council. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Paul Datz. I'm working with an urban planning consulting firm based in Halifax. We're upland planning and design. And we have been hired by the owners of the property, George and Ari Haralabakos, to support them from the beginning through this application, to put the design together and to help them navigate through the process of this planning application. So yeah, no need to repeat kind of the facts around the application that was already done by municipal staff. I just wanted to come up to the microphone to make you aware that I'm here. So if after the public hearing there are any questions, clarifications, I'm available and on standby. You can call me back in to answer technical questions. I also just wanted to say a few words on the history and the timeline of this application. We started working on this application in about March of 2024. So it's been just over 2 years now that the process has been ongoing. We started off with discussions with the province because we determined that the highway access may be the most critical part. So in early winter and spring of 2024, we had several meetings with the Department of Public Works, figuring out what the best access to the site could be, and then followed those recommendations to build the site plan. Then, once we had the site plan completed, we worked through the fall of 2024 on the full application package, which we submitted to the municipality in January of 2025. That included the site plan, the landscape design, lighting and signage plan, building elevations, a stormwater management plan, and the traffic impact study. In April of last year, we came together in this building for the first public information meeting on the matter, and some of the main feedback that we heard during that meeting was that there were concerns about the groundwater assessment, or if there is enough groundwater supply for such development, and concerns about the optics of the building, that it didn't match the urban, the rural charm of Havers essentially with its architecture. So we went back to the drawing board, and over the summer we reworked a completely new architectural design of the buildings. We hired professional geoscientists to come up with a groundwater level 1 assessment. This took a while, so it took most of the summer because it was a complex study. And and also one feedback that we received from municipal staff at that time was that there are still some improvements that needed to be made to the stormwater plan. So we did that at that time and then resubmitted the updated application in September of 25 last year. In November, it went to Planning Advisory Committee. Planning Advisory Committee raised some questions about the water course buffer, which we then clarified with municipal staff. And then, yeah, since November, we've been waiting eagerly for this date of the public hearing. And yeah, here we are, and I can tell you that everyone on the team, the property owners, architects, landscape architects, and us as the planning team are, yeah, just very hopeful not to miss this construction season and be able to get the go-ahead to move forward with this project. So yeah, hoping very much for your support. Thank you very much. And again, if you have any questions, I'm here on standby. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Turn the sound up, please, it's really hard to hear back here.
Yeah, I'll say something. Is that any better?
That's better.
Yeah.
You
well,
have to ring.
Yeah, just,
That's the biggest problem.
well, we'll see how it works. I'll into the technology part.
Pick up that string.
Okay, so we are at this moment in time into comments by the public on the proposal. And so if you just put your hand up if you wish to speak. Yeah, come on up to the mic. And your name and civic address and good to go. Oh, yeah.
I have a little written something so I don't forget what I want to say. I'm Wendy Harrington. I live at 224 Highway 3, which is one property away from this development on Highway 3. My big concern is the water supply. What is it going to do to my water supply? I've heard from my department that the developer has been assured that they will have plenty of water. But I haven't heard anything about my water supply. And that is my main concern. Is the developer planning on doing anything to assess the surrounding properties, my neighbors as well as myself? Without water in my home is unlivable, and I lose my equity. So if I wake up one morning and the development is finished, and I have no water, what's my recourse? That's really what it comes to in a nutshell. I talked to a consultant, and he suggests that the kind of ground that's there, if they have to dig deep enough to put in the tanks, they may have to blast. What is that going to do not only to my water, but to my home? These are things that need to be answered. And I could go on, I wrote a lot more than that, but that's basically
Biggest.
my water supply. And not just mine, also the stream. The stream, according to my consultant, empties into a wetland and then into the ocean. Again, it's the environment. We have a lovely place here, but if we start messing up things like the wetlands, then we need to know. Now, there's been some reference to stormwater. Maybe that has some effect on the stream. That's something I don't know. Those are my concerns. And I guess in the end, what I'd like to see is the development agreement, because it's probably will go ahead, that there be some sort of a clause in there that will, let me see, I wrote it down. I knew I'd forget it. There should be stipulation in the agreement requiring the developer to monitor the levels of water quality and quantity of the surrounding properties and the stream. And the steps that they will have to take if in fact, we are impacted. Okay?
Thank you. Garth or Emily, I don't know if you can answer that directly or not. I know I cannot. What our requirements are.
Yeah, so I'll try to just speak loudly. So my name's Gar Sturdivant. I'm the senior planner with the municipality. A few things, because there were a number of items there. In terms of the stream itself, so we do have policies in our planning strategy that require setbacks from those streams and from wetlands as well. And the purpose of that setback, of the distance that the building has to stay away from the setback, is intended to protect the water quality.
But what about quantity?
Well, so that's one
Okay.
piece, yeah.
Let's-
In terms of the groundwater, like Paul mentioned and like Emily mentioned, there has been what's called the level 1 groundwater assessment done, and that did show positive results that essentially that the development should be sustainable on the site, as in it's not expected to detract. The very tricky bit is exactly what you said, is potential impacts on neighboring wells. So there is a limit to what our planning policy calls for and gets into. And that is not always going to be a perfect scenario. There is risk that the planning strategy will not completely protect against. And there are property rights that work both ways. And it's a tough balance it is a tough balance to find. We do the best that we can in our planning documents, but understanding that there is some inherent right to be able to develop a property to some extent, and the level to which is what our planning strategies and land use bylaws are trying to regulate. So we do not have a policy that says you need to show us that all surrounding neighborhood wells will not be impacted. There's a question of authority, whether we have authority under our provincial legislation to ask for that. There's also a question of practicality of how would somebody do that, and would that create a scenario that was completely created a complete stop to development. For example, if you needed to monitor for 5 years before you built, like the costs for that wouldn't. So some of these might be extreme examples. So I'm just trying to paint the picture and the extremes that we're working within. If somebody were to build a single unit house on that lot, they wouldn't be required to do a water test because that's through what's called as of right zoning. So there has to be a level when water tests are required, and we've established that based on, essentially in this case, it's the size of the commercial use. So when it gets over a certain size, it requires this development agreement process, and then all of these additional criteria kick in that we require plans and studies from before it even comes to this table for council to approve. Yeah, so sure. Yep.
So you talk about the rights of the developer. What about the rights of the people who are living there and have lived there for many, many years?
Right.
Do they not have any rights?
That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's a balance both ways, right? And so because you live there, somebody owns that other land, right? So they have some rights, right? Yeah, right. The only way they wouldn't is if you bought it, right? Like that's the ultimate thing is to, and that, I understand that's not
I'm a
practical.
realtor, I know.
Yeah. So that's all I'm trying to get at. And this process, a development agreement, is a much more onerous level of regulation and development than smaller kinds of developments, like a house or like a 2-unit house or a very small store would be. And these policies have been set in, through many meetings like this. And I'm not gonna satisfy you. I'm just gonna be honest. There's nothing I'm going to say that's going to satisfy you specifically.
Sam wants to speak on this issue because there's some provincial regulations that are beyond our control.
Yeah, just on the one water withdrawal.
Tuck into the mic.
Can you hear me now?
We gotta tuck into it. Like,
I gotta chew on it?
All but.
Okay, I didn't eat supper. Yeah, water withdrawal is a provincial jurisdiction, and the the ability of the municipality to regulate water withdrawal is pretty limited. What I can say, on other developments that I've been involved in, the province did stipulate monitoring of surrounding wells. You know, for that very reason you brought up. I'm not aware if that is part of the stipulation in there. They undoubtedly would have to get a permit from the province if they withdraw more than a certain amount of water for their well. So I'm not aware what conditions or if there's any conditions on it. The chap here from the developer might be able to answer that.
Okay, the next person who wants to speak? Come on up.
Bernadine Corgo, 6500 Districts Road. Good evening, Council and residents of our beautiful and unique community. As a lifelong resident of the municipality of Chester, and making my home Hubbards the past 30 years, I would like to share with you my personal views of the proposed changes to the present land use bylaw. I love living in Hubbards, which is abundant with a wonderful assortment of people, ranging from hard-working fishermen and tradesmen through to our teachers, professionals, and of course entrepreneurs. As well, we are fortunate to have a thriving musical and artistic presence that makes us an incredible community. We are blessed with the ocean, beautiful beaches, lakes, and secluded wood areas. I enjoy walking and communing with nature. I like peace, fresh air, and wildlife. I am saddened when I see garbage in our ditches. In recent years, I have noticed an increased volume of traffic that does not adhere to speed limits. The proposed amendments are not a solution to these issues, but in fact will magnify them. Rather than amend bylaws, enabling redundant businesses to remove woodland, deplete our already compromised water table, and generate pollution created by enormous on-site sewage disposal systems, might I suggest improving the already commercial zoned properties located in the heart of our community. For example, we have a temporary gas station for a number of years that should be made into a permanent, fully functional business. Instead of building anew, the municipality can implement or revise regulations that would motivate owners to operate at their full potential. We should not let outside influences dictate how our community should look. We, as residents and present business owners, should come together and decide Hubbard's future, thus postponing changes to bylaws to a later date and focusing on our vision. Thank you.
Probably somebody else wants to speak. Believe it.
Good evening. Andrews Park, 15 Highway 3 Hubbards. I have a question for the developer. Is that allowed?
You can ask me the
I'll ask you,
question
yes.
and I'll ask him if he.
I was reading with interest some of the emails in the back of the pamphlet, and one of the submitters, Mr. Arnish, said that he sees a vast improvement to the community by allowing this development to happen. So I just wanted, related to the process, but to hear what some of those improvements to our community might be. We've heard a fair number of things about things that might detract from our community with water sources and things like that. But I'd be interested in hearing how the developer is envisioned it would improve our community.
Okay, thank you. Paul, I don't know if you want to speak to that or, oh. Sort of a very general question.
That question I honestly don't understand, because so a neighbor has written to the municipality that this development would be an improvement to the community, is what I understand.
And I don't know who, I don't.
So that, I don't know, I mean, so what we're improving is that particular property, right? But Since I'm already here, I wanted to comment on the question about the water. So there was a level 1 groundwater assessment done for the property, and the geoscientist that was hired to do the study, he collected data for several months. He looked at all the well permits in the area, right, including their depths, and I think also the technique and how they were drilled. And he looked at recharge rates of the entire aquifer, not only of the property, of the entire aquifer of the area, and has determined that that site supports up to 48,000 liters of withdrawal per day without meaningfully affecting any other wells in the area.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and yes, it was Reese Harnish that made that comment, so yeah, it's not you who made it.
So that's, yeah, but so the water study is available, and it very much refers to the general area, not just to our property. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the comment on the water. Okay, the next speaker. Yeah, come on up.
My name is Ron Daniel. I live in Grove. A couple of things I'm wanting to know is what are the results of groundwater studies that were given? Are they posted anymore from the developer? These setbacks that the developer made, are they the maximum per lot? Also, they have a septic field 2 that is close to exit 1. That floods, that area floods constantly in the winter and when it's raining. What do they plan for that? Also, as well, they have a whole bunch of stormwater retention ponds, or whatever you want to call them. That water is coming off of the parking lot, going into the stormwater retentions. What happens to that water? Because there's going to be gasoline and other oils and all that stuff that will then percolate into the water system. Thanks.
Okay, I don't know if I can answer all of it. I can tell you that the requirements for septic are provincially regulated and not by us, so they have to meet whatever standard the province has for that. And the water runoff, I would assume.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So the septic will be installed and approved through the Nova Scotia Environment regulations, and that has to do with the setbacks, where it's located, and how it's operated if there was to be flooding that were to happen after the fact. The groundwater assessment, so typically the way this works, and Paul may be able to speak additionally to this, but so the studies that we receive as part of this application are not inherently public. They're confidential and part of the application, so we can speak to them and speak to them, but in terms of providing a copy, that's not something that we could do. Upland may well be able to do that. That's just a matter of sort of privacy legislation because it's part of an active application for us.
He did indicate that he would make it available.
Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that. And on the stormwater side, so we have a standard in our land use bylaw for stormwater management, and it has to do with essentially the volume of water and the intensity of water leaving the site, flowing off of the site total, has to match what it is basically today. So we call that the pre-development or post-development flows have to match in terms of how much it is and how fast, the volume and the intensity. So the stormwater plan that's included here was designed by an engineer and submitted and reviewed by our Public Works Department, our municipal engineer, and it was deemed to meet our standards. So I don't know that I can speak specifically to stormwater in terms of a gas station versus other uses, but what I can say is that the stormwater management plan does meet the regulations and has been designed and stamped and then reviewed by an engineer. Was there a fourth item, or was that just three?
I can't remember what the fourth one was.
No, I think maybe that was it. I just didn't want to miss anything.
I think that was it. Next speaker. Yeah, come on up. Yeah.
Be cancelled. Floyd Shafford, 823 Highway 329. I guess this development, first of all, isn't going to affect me. I live just 5 kilometers away. I was the councillor previously, and I'm happy that it's that I took this chair. First of all, just for everyone here, this is a zoning request. If the zoning request is denied, don't even worry about the development. It doesn't happen, right? I think I'm.
That's correct.
Thank you. So when you cut off the highway, running into Harvard till you get to the Hamlet area, it's 0.6 kilometers. And that was, when we did the rezoning about 5 years ago, that was quite a bit of commercial development in there, and we changed that zoning at that particular time because the residents that live there do not want it. So when I heard about this proposed garage, before I get there, after that particular time, there was a request from another developer up at the highway. And they wanted to put in a large-scale development, garages. I understand that some of those things are approved, some hasn't happened yet. But I personally went to the grocery store in our mall on 3 different days before we had that meeting and asked residents what they wanted. Our community was very excited to have that development up on the highway, being able to get a coffee, gas whenever you wanted, and not having it in our community. We like our community the way it is, from my understanding, when I was on council, and we like it to stay that way. I did get involved in this, and I went myself door to door to the residents who lived there. November the 17th, my wife drove me around, I went to every door. There wasn't a person that I went to and approached that didn't sign the petition. They did not want that development in that spot. They were excited about it being up top. I'm glad you brought up a little bit about garages and communities. We used to have 5 or 6 in Hubbards. Now we have 1, and it's not the greatest in the world, but we have 1. Chester has how many? 1. Chester Basin, 1. Ruston Shore, 1. New Ross, 1. We have 1. Another one being built. Why would we need a third one? It just blows my, especially when the residents, and I hope they get up and speak here tonight, are totally opposed to it. They go to the Hampton area, to the highway, they do not want it, and someone here that in that area that does, I might have missed them. There was a few people who weren't home when I did the survey door to door. But I guess when I'm looking at you as councillors tonight, and I'm asking you to respect my community, respect what the people want to live there, and listen to what they're saying. We're going to have garages. Whoever bought the property, I don't think it was just a representative, but they knew what they bought when they bought it. They knew what the zoning was. They could have went on the other side and got the different zoning. They chose to go there, and I think that this whole thing is confused by the development permit. We're all talking about a development permit. The issue here tonight, do we want a zoning change? If we change the zoning, the property owners could sell the property, they could do exactly what the development committee says, or they could do something entirely different. So let's forget about, to me, the development agreement. The issue here tonight is zoning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next person who wants to speak? Oh,
Doesn't sound like an echo. So Keith Parker, 206 Highway 3, Stone's Throw from the Paving Question today. So first of all, good evening and thanks for coming today. Thanks for wanting to talk to everybody that showed up. This is nice to be really bear with me because I got some new information from the developer on the timelines and I put my writing on this page and I don't have very good penmanship, so it is what it is. So here I am to speak in opposition to this rezoning. And again, that's what this is, a request to rezone from SR2 back to multi-use 2. The main point of my argument tonight is going to be based around community planning and integrity, especially integrity. We want integrity. As we all likely recall, or perhaps you don't, on July 11th of 2024, this council ratified the new land use plan and bylaws for our municipality, including the lot in question. This was the greater overarching plan for the municipality of Chester. This process involved years of community consultation and expert planning. The decision to zone this specific lot and the others around it as SR2, which is settlement residential, was a deliberate choice made to protect the residential gateway to Sim settlement homes. According to the records in the municipality, an application to reverse this designation was received on, now we know, in January of 2025. That's 6 months after the plan for the entire community was written. 6 months. Right? So that plan was finalized and signed. Let's talk a bit about zoning and how it affects our community. Zoning is put in place for stability and predictability in the future of our community. When we establish land use bylaws, residents invest in their community and their homes and their neighborhoods based on the belief that those rules and those regulations that were voted on by you councilors will be upheld. To consider such a major rezoning and significant development agreement less than 20 months after you decided that this should be zoned a certain way, it undermines my trust, and I'm sure everybody else's trust, in this whole planning process. It's also important to note that in that current SR2 zoning, it already allows for commercial development. This is not a choice of no development, not in my backyard. This is a choice about scale. The current zoning does allow for business uses that fit the character of that current residential area. And a gas station is one of them, people, we can get it. This application, however, it seeks a bigger footprint and use. More specifically, it appears to be a high-traffic gas station and power center. This is exactly what our community intentionally moved away from when we finalized the SR2 designation for that area leading into the dam. All I'm asking is for council to stand by the decision that you made in July of 2024. A lot of good work was done to put that in place, a lot. So please respect the integrity of our community's master plan. Let's give it a chance to work before we whip a U-turn. Thank you for letting me speak, and I hope you'll take these points into consideration.
Yes, Councilor Wendy, just some clarity on the 20, on the.
Yeah, so just a clarification on some of those dates. So the plan that was done here was approved in October of 2019. There was a village plan that was approved last year. That might have been what that date was. So I just wanted to clarify that.
No, actually,
2024 was the village plan.
Right. The
2019.
zoning in place here, the municipal plan was approved in 2019. So I just wanted to make that point clear.
Oh, well.
So it's been in place. So it's been in place for 7 years, or 6.5. And just as another clarification, so the other development across the highway that was alluded to, so that was also done through a rezone, like we're talking about tonight, but not through the development agreement. So tonight it's the two-prong process. So in 2019 the zoning was brought in place with the SR2 all around the highway. In 2022 there was an application.
what was the one north of the highway rezoning from?
SR2 to mixed use, the exact same as
So
it
was
was.
SR2, it wasn't like moved on over resource?
SR2 to mixed use, yep, exactly. So that request came in 2022 and was approved. As you see, nothing's been built there yet. Permit applications may come in at any point, but we're not privy to that. That's up to the developer.
What's the nature of the surrounding lot?
It was essentially the same. So the entire around the highway exit was all.
Essentially the same, there's like two houses. This is a subdivision.
I'm sorry, I thought you asked for the zone.
No,
No, I'm talking about the nature of the
Okay, so
that's enough conversation back and forth.
I just wanted to make the point that the zoning's been in place since 2019. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I want to clarify. Yes, next person who wishes to speak.
The project up at the exit, just for a point of clarification. On your outer site, there's only a portion that was in this SR.
You need to speak up.
The There's only a portion of the city.
A section of the law.
What percent?
Here, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't have that.
And at the time, I believe it was described, well, that was just sort of an error where the line was drawn. Because it was sort of the intent that that area would accommodate larger scale commercial. And so yes, it was a rezoning, but a rezoning back to what probably the original intent was.
The direction should be to the council, please.
Yeah, you gotta talk to me, and if I want him to answer it, I'll tell him.
So did you hear what I said?
Yeah, you're telling me that only a portion of it was zoned in that particular,
That is correct.
and Tara, you had something, you,
Yeah, I don't recall, we'd have to look at the staff report to see what portion it was.
I don't remember.
I'm not sure the significance, just since we're trying to be clear here and make sure it's full disclosure.
Okay, we'll check on it, but I don't. Anyone else wish to speak?
I'll go after you. Trina Richardson, 212 Sim Settlement, just a few properties up. Wendy brought up about the quantity of the water, and that was one of my main issues.
Quality too.
Yeah, and then he brought
gotta have water first.
Exactly. He brought up the quantity, or sorry, the quality. And this other gentleman brought up about the gas, the runoff, the oil, the things that are going to run off to, again, another thing that I wasn't thinking of is that flooding area. Where's that all going to go? I've heard words like risk. We've done assessments. Was it geoscientists? God, love you. They did a couple of months survey, couple of months assessment for neighboring. Nobody came to my yard. Did anybody come to yours? Did anybody come to yours, Reese, Keith? You know, a couple of months really doesn't cut it as far as looking at the quantity and quality. Quality. Then I'm coming back to his word when he used the word risk. Risk. They don't have the risk, not at, what was it, 48,000 liters of water per day, was it? Not as much risk to them as there is to the rest of us. So I just wanted to say it.
Thank you. There's another person who's gonna come up, yeah.
Hi, my name's Parker. I'm married to Keith Parker. I'm not going to come as hot as he came into all this. I wanted to start off by saying that I'm not originally from here. I'm from Ontario. Scary word. So, I just want to say with the growing population and increased interest in Hubbards as a destination, I understand that change is inevitable. However, what matters most is how that change happens. Right now, this rezoning application feels rushed and disconnected from the people who actually live here. I've seen this happen before. I grew up in a community much like Hubbard's. As soon as developers recognized its growing potential, things moved quickly, way too quickly. Decisions were made without meaningful, thoughtful community input. The scale of development outpaced what the area could handle. And what followed wasn't growth, it was loss. The character of the community changed, and longtime residents, people who had built their entire lives there, were either pushed out or they moved out because they didn't like the area anymore. My family was one of those families. The zoning of this pig currently allows for commercial development, and what's being requested now represent a very significant shift and change in this community, and it is incredibly concerning. It feels excessive and not aligned with scale or needs or core values of others. Growth should not come at the expense of the very community that makes this place worth investing in. And I'm asking you to respectfully pause, to listen carefully to all the voices in this room, and vote against this application.
Other speakers?
Hello, my name is Alan McLean. I live on 229 Highway 3, almost right across from this proposed whatever it is. We have a nice, very nice, quiet neighborhood up there. Maybe, Alan, you'd like that gas station built next to you. Or maybe you, Issy. Maybe you'd like it built next to you. We don't want it, not one of us up there want it. We got a gas station going up across the street. We got one down by the shopping center. We have a nice, quiet little neighborhood. We have good water. Or we did have good water until this is built. I don't know, that brook runs down out of Maple Lake. It runs across the highway that comes out down to the Smelt Brook. It also runs through Miller's Mash runs through it. And this all could be polluted. There is trout in that brook, and there's all kinds of animals that live down through there. And put it this way, none of us up there want that. And I'll never support it. And the only thing you council has done for me is raise my assessment doubled in the last 5 years. And I don't know why. Even at one thing, you told me what a good, beautiful view of the saltwater I had. I can't even see the saltwater from the roof of my house. Thank you.
Just to be clear, we don't raise the tax. Anyone else wish to speak? I'll ask again, is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Bruce Parker, I'm at 188 Highway 3, another Stones Throw. I just want to say I don't think it's worth the risk on so many levels. The water, the threat to the fabric of our community, the residential nature of it, and I can't imagine letting anybody go on that lot with a bulldozer, flatten it, put up these ugly commercial looking buildings with a couple little roofs on them like this, oh, that's pretty. No, don't do it. You're gonna plant a couple little trees along the edge. No, that's not gonna cover that up. It's gonna look like shit. Plain and simple. Don't do it.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Very quiet. Normally, I'll try to be quiet. My name's Lori Vanderveld, and I live at 9 Human Lake Lane in City Settlement. And I can't remember the name was through, but just so you know, I'm from Halifax, which is probably almost as bad. Anyway, but I'm a Nova Scotian, and any community, you know, that affects the community in a negative way, I'd like to speak up about. And this is going to be in my community now, probably tell my job. So, my main concern is right there at the intersection, with traffic, like safety-wise, traffic-wise, if that has been assessed at all. Even now, I've noticed a couple of some near misses, like, and I've only been in here for about 4 months in the neighborhood, so just wondering if that has been examined at all, because it's already a busy enough corner, and I'm just concerned about the impact on safety and traffic.
Okay, thank you. To the best of my knowledge, that when they driveway and access points.
There has been a traffic study done to assess the driveway location, and then there will be a final approval by Department of Highways when it is actually installed.
But it's their decision, not ours. Other people who wish to speak? All right.
Zero Power, 1242 Highway 329. My comment is on the environment. You have a brook that starts way up there and runs right down to the salt water. The gentleman there spoke about the setback and everything. If we have a winter, like we had this winter, or worse, there's going to be a lot of snow plowing. There's going to be a lot of salt, sand, antifreeze drips out of cars, oil drips out of cars, gas gets splashed on the ground. Common sense dictates that probably 65% plus of the snow is going to be pushed that way towards the brook. You can have building setbacks all you want. The more snow you have, the further back you have to push it. I plowed snow for quite a few years. So that's going to run off into that brook. As the gentleman previously said, there's fish in the brook, there's frogs in the brook, there's an ecosystem in that brook. Salt, antifreeze, gasoline will eventually kill that. And the other thing is, if you have a fast food joint or a food place of any kind, how much garbage is going to end up in that brook? Because everywhere you look, there's Tim Hortons cups, there's Robin's cups, there's McDonald's, on and on. And for whatever reason, it always seems like it gravitates to waterways. And that's something I think you really, really should think about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other people wish to speak?
Hello, my name is Gabe Routier. I'm at 27 Poplar Drive. I'm a lifetime resident here in Hubbard's, Nova Scotia. Also a business owner. I employ 15 young men and women actually in the Sioux settlement area. I really believe that this community needs to start to be revitalized. We need more, the province has set very stringent rules for groundwater, runoff, setbacks. I hold 2 licenses with the province of Nova Scotia. I'm QP certified to design and install septic systems. I have a certificate for water allocation that I can actually move and alter waterways here in Nova Scotia. There's a safe, really and strict guidelines of how we do this. The developer, they have set out all of the things and with positive reports on this development. I really think we need to look at the long-term plan that really, the reality is this community is growing. That's not going to change. So we have to grow with it. We have to grow responsibly. That area by the exit is the area to grow. Now, if this was going to be proposed in downtown Hubbards or on the waterfront in Hubbards, I'd be very much opposed to it. But these kind of businesses need to be pulled out to the exit, like every other community in Canada. You drive across Canada, these businesses are by the exit. This is how they've always done it and done it successfully.
You have to let him.
You got one on the other side.
Have to let him speak.
Let me speak. So as this community grows, and it is growing through all the other reports, the we have to grow with it. We have to give entrepreneurs, space to actually have their businesses, which I truly believe the entrepreneurs are the heart and soul of this community. Investing their money, employing our young people, employing people that actually with good jobs that can get mortgages and bring their money back reinvested into Hubbard's. I think this is vitally important for our long-term strategy. That development needs to happen out by the highway. That really protects what we have here in Hubbard's in our core village. That I would never change. And anybody knows me, I'm all about Hubbard's. I absolutely love it here. I invest in my business, invest in my dollars in development here. So I really think that this, it needs to be said that we want some economic opportunity for our young people, for businesses that are here. Now, if you say, oh, it's just a grocery store and a gas station, those aren't jobs that are going to really affect the outcome of people, but really, there's a lot more other jobs that when these businesses are here, bring economic opportunity for everybody. So, the secret's out. Hubbard's is growing, and we really need to make sure it grows in the right direction. But not growing, there's a cost to not growing, and I've watched this community go up and down over the years. I think that the economic study that was done in 2019, is really, after COVID, everything changed here, and it really needs to be re-looked at. So I know I represent maybe another side of what this room is feeling, but there's a huge amount of this community that is for this development. And I think if it's done responsibly, it can be really positive for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, my heart's beating real fast because I don't talk to the public very often. I moved back to Hubbard's like
Your name and city.
Sorry, yeah. My name is Naomi McLean. I live at 84 Conrad's Branch Drive. Moved here when I was 9. Moved away and lived in BC for the past 12, 15 years, and I'm back home. And I've brought my business with me. And I'm stoked to be here. I have to reiterate some of the stuff that he just said. I don't know if this is the right plan. I didn't do my homework. A lot of people did their homework. They understand this plan maybe more than I do. But I do like to say that I think that the Hubbard's area is growing. We do need to grow with it. There's very little space for me to grow and do my business here because the current spaces we have, being the Hubbard's Shopping Center and Hubbard's Landing, are falling apart. Crumbling at the seam. You look at I can't get to my grocery store without going through potholes and worried my car's gonna fall apart. There's a building that's sitting there that looks like it's falling to pieces. And our gas station doesn't have, I could barely even get painkillers one day when the grocery store was closed because we have a trailer. And I don't know if that's the best spot for the development they're proposing. Their points about water systems to the community is very valid points. I think that they should be questioned. But I do think that what he said is true. We need more spaces for local community members to bring entrepreneurial things to this community and make it more vibrant. And make it so that I don't have to drive 20, 30, 40 minutes to go get groceries. I love what they've done with our small little grocery store, but that building is falling apart around it. The grocery store is not really working. The fridges don't really work. So I have to go and shop at Costco or the superstore in Tantallon, and I'd rather put my money and support our community and keep it centralized. Even the smaller grocery store they have in Chester has more viable options than we do here, and that's not okay. We have a lot of seniors in our community that can't go to the city and go get groceries. I think development does need to happen, but it needs to be integrity to Hubbard's and keep the spirit that we have here viable. I just wanted to say that, so it's
Anyone else wish to speak? I'll ask one more time and then Nobody has their hand up, like, move on to the next step. Oh, there you go.
Mike Thornborough, 4106 Highway 329. And yes, Hubbard's needs development. And driving 103, we all see it happen. Massive. There's that development that's not started. Nobody knows what it's going to be. Multi-use residential. How many different plans that have been shared here? That's off the highway. There's very little impact to the town if Hubbard would all benefit from the grocery stores that go in there. I live here because I don't want to live in town. Drive there at 5 o'clock. The development on 103 and this development of that size in this small community, you're going to be living in town.
Exactly.
Going in town, not that far, be a superstore.
Mention the length issue.
That too.
That's big.
Most of us move here or live here because it's not a charter, it's not Bridgewater, and it's not in town. And if this is for, as Gillian said, rezoning, it's zoned that way when they bought it, you bought it, you go in town. That's how you develop it. You don't, I bought it, I've got enough money to do reports and make it look pretty. You bought it, develop it within the current zone.
Anyone else? Okay, I don't see any hands. Oh, there we go. We have one. Just when I thought we were done.
I'm Jordan Hardish from Millville, 1282, number 329. I'd just like to say I'm against this. I like living here for what it is. I don't want to live, if I want to live somewhere else, if I wanted to make this in the Tantown, I'd just go live in Tantown. I like it here. You go to Tantown for groceries, it takes, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, well, 15, 20 minutes, I guess. It's not a big deal. It's nice here. It's not filled with people. Just leave it the way it is. And we got the other development coming across the highway. I think that's enough for now. I mean, and at least it's out of town. Like, doesn't really. I don't know if it really helps anyone around here. I mean, it makes the developers lots of money, the landowners lots of money. I don't know if it helps anybody from the community any. We got everything we need here up in Hubbard's and more coming, so we'll fix up what we got if you don't like it. I'm not really sure what else to say, but yeah, that's about it, I guess. I don't think it benefits anybody here, really.
Will I have an 18th speaker? Or are we stopping at 17? Oh, there we go, number 18.
So I was just wondering,
Name and certificate.
oh, sorry. I'm John Moore at 107 Four Stage Road. So I don't live near the spot. I forgot what I was gonna say. But, talking about the zoning, we do have zoning now the way it's zoned so that you could have, somebody mentioned that there wasn't room for the business, but actually, we are zoned to be able to have business under a certain size. And that size probably meets with what Hubbard's is. So, maybe we just don't need something on such a big scale. And maybe that's why it's not zoned for that. And maybe that's the way it should stay.
What about number 19? Anyone else? Seeing no one, that is the end of the comments by the public. So, I don't know what you want to do now.
What's next?
Yeah, what's next?
Well, I mean, we can, we could vote on it, or we could just want to take the time to consider what we heard here this evening. Yeah, well, I mean, that's not my decision to make. It's whether council feels they heard everything that they needed to hear, or whether they didn't, whether they want more time to give some consideration, or whether they want to decide on what they want to do now. Yes, you can.
Can you hear me? I am your current counselor, and like Councilor Floyd, I did speak to many people on the conversation. Last year, I've had dialogue with through emails, through phone calls, on the shoulder, since my conversations with these people, 1,672 people showed up here tonight. Thank you for coming, right? We made the exit, we made the effort to come, right? To hear and to be heard. And I think decisions have to be made, and obviously some people are going to be satisfied with the decisions here tonight. I've learned a lot. I've learned from the dialogue, I've learned from the experts, and I've learned from the passion of people in the community. By keeping the zone as it is, as a majority of these people, every single person could be victim and you not stay. I'm taking the majority of the people who are here. And I've never had a favor for the zoning, I've never had a favor against it. My job as your counselor is to listen to the majority of the constituents and make a decision that benefits them. Not me, not these people at this table. I'm not afraid to speak up. So, as it stands right now, either this is deferred, or we vote, if you wish to vote, people wish for us to vote now. Is that what the consensus is?
Yes.
Okay.
Someone would need to put a motion on the floor as to what to do. Either approve the rezoning or not.
I would make a motion that we leave the zoning the way it is on behalf of these people in this city.
If we're leaving it alone, we don't have to vote on that. It's only if we're.
I believe that development can happen, obviously at a smaller scale, and we'll see where that goes to.
Okay. So yes, unless there's a motion on the floor to approve the rezoning, then this simply isn't approved. So, I don't hear anybody moving that it be approved. So therefore, it is not. And that ends there's no decision on the development agreement, because without the approval of the rezoning, there's no such thing. So, it hasn't been approved, so a motion to adjourn.